Hello, folks. How are you today? It is still Saturday. It is still, I believe, the 9th day of July 2022. I am much worse for the wear, as you can see. I cut the grass today and then I worked on the car. I thought I'd share this with you. It may be the most jackleg fix of my entire life. Or it might just be the most genius. Let me show you what I'm talking about. You know the part that was screwed up by the auto mechanic the last place I went? They claimed they had fixed the distributor. They did not. They super glued with this kind of glue that melts plastic to plastic. The housing for the coupler for the wiring harness to the distributor, which fucked up both the connector on the distributor and the connector in the wire harness. Anyway, car started doing the same shit, and I figured out what it was by looking at it and realized it's the same old distributor in there. They didn't replace that. They just fucking used this goddamn plastic weld. Same shit you use when you make models when you're a kid. Which fucked me over. So, I had to order another distributor, which I did. And it's sitting in a box in the closet. Problem is, that part is so fucked up, I need a new one. So, I bought a bunch of tools in order to solder that new coupling, the wiring harness, to the wiring harness. The problem is, when I bought it in Malaysia on the 11th, they use Janyo, and this is Janyo. Apparently, this is the tracking system. Apparently, it's been sitting since the 28th of June in New York. I'm sorry, no. Yes, it supposedly, who knows when it went from June 23rd to June 28th when it got to New York, but that's where it is. Supposedly, within the destination of the country, parcel is on its way to the next facility. It is actually, I contacted them and they said it was still in New York. Hasn't moved from the warehouse. And just so you know, they got the parcel on the 13th. On the 14th. They got the contact on the 13th. Anyway, so a month. I have no reason to believe it'll ever show up. And I cannot continue taking lifts back and forth or walking every day. So I've got to figure out what I can do. And what I'm doing is this crazy bullshit just for the fun of it. That's my flower. Like the Little Prince, I have one. And it only blooms twice a year. And that was early in the morning when I was walking Bo. Is what it looked like. Anyway, there you go. Awesome photography, Scott. Yes, that's the distributor, and yes, I'm getting ready to pull it out because my plan was to take it out and try to find a way to hardwire it to those wires, bypassing an actual connection. This is the damage that was done by the company that charged me to replace the distributor, which, by the way, that's the distributor I put in 3 years ago. They didn't do that. So, here's the deal. Turns out, this connector is bad. And so, when the car shifts gears and the engine rocks a little bit and the motor mounts and it wiggles, that thing is pulled out almost to the point where it's not touching anymore. And it cuts off the car. Now, sometimes I can just turn the ignition and it'll kick back on and it'll start and I'll keep driving. Sometimes it won't. If I'm doing 45 miles an hour and the guy behind me is texting, that could be a big problem. Because there's no brake lights, the car just all of a sudden dies. It slows down for no reason whatsoever, which is dangerous, so I can't drive it. So you see the extent of the damage that's been done to it. Well, I was going to take all of this off, take the whole thing out of the car, bring it into the house, and with the new tools I have, figure out a way to hardwire these wires into this, and then take these wires and solder them back into the wiring harness, which would effectively hardwire this distributor to the car until, if on the off chance this part comes in, at least I can drive it then. That was my plan. However, looking at the lack of wires, I decided that I would perhaps go a different route. And that is when I decided maybe the best way to do this would be to fix it in place. And this is either the dumbest thing I've ever done or the smartest thing I've ever done. What I did was I took electrical tape and I split it to thin strips, and I layered it inside here to cover this access down here and these. These are just pinchers. They're not conducting any electricity. And that's what I did. Now here comes the genius part, or the dumbest part. I covered it in Gorilla Glue contact cement. Okay. It could be the dumbest thing I've ever done. I got to give you that one. It could be the dumbest thing I've ever done. I was hoping that it wouldn't be too runny, and in fact, it wasn't too runny. I don't believe it could have gotten down into the small areas inside this. However, if it did, it will connect all of those together, which could have extremely detrimental effect on my computer and my 1991 Mitsubishi piece of shit hoopty ride. Could. We'll find out. I'm laughing. Listen. Maybe the way to have gone was to pull all of this off from the fucking distributor. All of this. This is the fucking housing connector that is attached to this, to the wiring harness, and this is the actual housing that connects to the distributor. Maybe the way to go would have been come back in here, carefully cut all of that off, cut these wires, find new wires, take the new wires and connect them directly somehow, because these are steel connectors, or they're not copper, so I don't know what they are. So I don't know how my solder would work on them. But find some way to then take the new wires to solder them into this connector here, and then bring the whole thing out here and solder them and shrink wire cover them into the wiring harness. And that might have been the best way to go, and it might still be the best way to go. Worst case scenario, the ECU goes, and I order a new ECU from the place, and they send it via Janio, and it gets here in 2 months' time. Best case scenario is This crazy, whacked out, stupid idea works. This is Gorilla Glue's contact cement. It hardens up like a plastic. I don't know if it conducts electricity. Even if it did, I don't know if enough of it would actually get down into these connectors. You see how tight these connectors are crimped. And that wasn't the problem. The problem was this one right here was sliding in and out. So you see how tight they're crimped. I don't know if any of this stuff could have actually gotten down inside there. Could have. You never know. Could be the dumbest thing I've done. Could be the smartest thing I've done. But all I know is you do desperate, crazy fucking shit when you're trying to keep either a 1991 Mitsubishi Eclipse on the road so you can get back and forth to the doctor, or a 1989 Ford Festiva. You should see some of the crazy shit inside that Ford Festiva. My neighbor Steve came over yesterday while I was working on the Festiva. I was able to get it registered and get it the title transferred to me, and it registered yesterday. So, a day before yesterday with Aunt BB's help. So, thank you again, Aunt BB. He comes over and takes a look at it. And we're trying to figure out why it's not getting the power, and now I got the battery to it, and blah blah blah. So why is it not getting the power? And he's looking at it's a 1989. He's looking at all the wiring in it, and there's pieces of fucking electrical tape hanging off of fucking wires, and some wires aren't connected anymore, and some things are. He's like, I don't understand. You could be anything. It's like, you fuck. You asked him. But he was very helpful. Worst case scenario is it bursts into flames and I run screaming like a bitch down the street on fire with my hair on fire. What little there is left of it. We'll see how it works out, and I will let you know. Just giving you an update on Eclipsius. Eclipsius is having open heart surgery. And I am not the open heart surgeon that you want when you are going into the ER. Hi, who's this guy? He's your surgeon. Ah! So we'll see how it works out. Anyway, thought I'd keep you up to date. The dumbest thing or the fucking smartest thing? It's a thin, thin line, isn't it, folks?